Okay, it's not there yet. It's still
Are we
spinning.
gonna play music?
No,
We
we aren't. I
can't
can't
because
play. Yeah.
YouTube rules with
Oh,
stuff. Yeah, it's saying
I want it to be
uploading.
funny and be like, I'm Dominique Walker and you're watching Disney Channel.
Okay, I may have to start this over because it is not working.
Okay.
And it's okay that this is still recording because this is going to a different location.
Right, right.
Okay, it looks like we are live.
Okay,
Oh,
let
wait,
me check.
Hey,
private. Hold on. Hold on.
Make it public. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
you got a mic?
She got a
Yeah,
mic.
I do.
You need to get a
Okay.
mic.
All right, y'all. I'm about to change the setting to public. Okay.
All right.
Okay. I believe we're live.
Are we live?
I believe we're live.
Let me check my. Let me check my phone. Um, let's see. Okay, yeah, it says we're live here. Let me. Okay.
Because I don't see any viewers. So it's hard
Yeah.
to.
Okay. We are live. Okay. All right, we're gonna get started, y'all. All right. All right, y'all. So, welcome to BSPN, the Black School Psychologist Network Incorporated. We're doing our first live of this fall season, I guess we can call it. Tonight's topic is straight out of summer school psychologist back to school tips. I am Dr. Aline Milfort. I am the director of marketing for BSPN and also one of the co-founders.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Tiara Bland. I am also a co founder and chief of staff.
All right, all right. The vision.
Oh my God, this is so weird being on YouTube, y'all. Y'all have to excuse us for
It is
tonight.
so weird, y'all, right now. It's
Much
so weird.
different
I'm
than
seeing it.
Instagram. So, for our new followers, the vision of BSPN is to support and elevate and advance the work of Black school psychologists. So, if you are not following us already, please subscribe to our website at www.bspninc.com and also following us on all social media platforms at the Black SBS.
Love it, love it. Y'all, we have some incredible, I mean, incredible school psychologists here with us from Maryland and Texas. And they're about to introduce themselves.
Hey y'all, I'm Jenadra Harvey, the not so typical school psych on Instagram. Nice to see y'all.
Hey everybody, I'm Dominique Walker.
All right, y'all. So we about to get into this. Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready to get
I'm
into the
ready.
questions? Y'all, we got
Let's get
some
into it.
interesting questions tonight, and we're excited to dive in. So the first question is share your story. How did you become a school psychologist?
So I'll go first. I first found out about the field of school psychology when I was working at a dormitory high school for 11th and 12th grade students. And I just really liked how she was interacting with the kids. So I was a resident assistant and she would work with the resident assistants and teach them like certain suicide risk factors to look out for. So that's kind of how I found out about the field. And then ever since then, I've just been running with it.
To see it, love to see it. And then for me, I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I attended the University of Connecticut. Go Huskies! And while I was at UConn, there was a young man there who was actually studying school psych at UConn's school psych program, but nobody knew about the program. And he would go around campus like ripping and raving about school psych and like how much he loved it. And I think thinking back now about the fact that he's a Black man in school psych was already just like super dope. But even I think at that time, I kind of was just like, I don't really know too much about that. I think as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, because I had an individualized major at UConn, I kind of was just like, okay, I've been taking all of these psychology classes. I know that I want to work with kids. I kind of like education. Got on Google, and literally when you put it all together, the first thing that pops up is school psych. And I was like, God, you're really funny, because there's this man like ripping and raving about school psychology. So then I applied to Howard. It was the one school I applied to. I got in, and the rest was history.
Nice.
No, I really love that. I'm going to kind of interject this for a second, because one of the common themes we always hear about, how did you become a school psychologist? It's like someone told you about the field, right? Like it's like a hidden gem, right, that nobody knows about, right? And so like just I didn't say before, but like I'm in Houston, Texas. And so I went from the school for internship, then to a private setting. Now I'm back in the schools as a contracting school psychologist. And one thing that I love, like you said, that education and mental health, one thing I love to see is the children, right? Dr. Charles Bear is always saying it's always about the children. And it's like being in the private sector, you get that, but being around school personnel and stuff makes our job more rewarding, even though there's some stress with it, right?
Right. Right. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into the next question, which I'm already laughing at because I can already relate to it. But second question is, how do you shake off summer break rust as a school psychologist?
That's a really good question. I feel like I'm still in the rusty phase right now. So my first tip is always going to be to listen to your body. I had to do new employee orientation this week, so I started a week earlier than everyone, and then the kids came in the next week. And every day I came home and took a nap. And it's like you want to be productive, you want to do all of your to-do list things that you have for your personal life, but it's just like sometimes you got to get back into the flow of the hustle and bustle of the school year. Right. So I would say for me, listen to your body is number one. Second, I would say plan as much as you can. So when you're thinking about like how many reevals you have coming up, your direct service caseload, how you're going to manage like crisis response with your team, trying to pre-plan all of those things so that as they're coming, you're not thinking about them on the fly, which again adds to that stress that we're experiencing. And then I would say lastly, one thing about me is I'm a complain, and you gotta be honest with yourself and know who you are. So I'm a complain until it gets better, and a lot of that is just talking to my cohort, to like again asking them for tips and tricks, and then also talking to your colleagues, right? Because they're going through the same things, and really just trying to navigate the space of how you all do this together.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's exactly what I was going to say, that I'm still kind of shaking off the rust. I think we all are. One thing that I kind of lean on is my coworkers and the special education teachers, all the teachers that I work with, the admin, people that I built rapport with, and just, helping each other, boosting team morale. That I think that helps us all get into like the flow of things. And also, again, self-care, taking care of yourself, knowing when you've reached your limit and it's time to go. We can do it tomorrow, because there's always going to be work.
Blackout.
That's so true. And like thinking about some of my students that email me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Bland, I'm still trying to get back in the groove of a routine." And I'm like, it's okay. And I think even for myself, it's just like showing grace. Like I don't have to figure it all out at the first 2 or 3 weeks of the school year. Like gradually organize and make a schedule, and just make it work. Like you said, Dominique, like take it day by day, week by week. And hopefully by October, we would have gotten into a groove, getting into a schedule too. So, yeah.
And taking weekends very seriously to rest, or whatever you need to do, hang out with friends, recharge, take that very seriously. Because Monday through Friday is a very long time.
I love how you said that. A lot of things that were shared is the validating of like we're all feeling that rust, right?
Mhm.
And just going back to like just we experienced the COVID-19 and just getting back
Mhm.
into all of this. A lot of new things, protocols you have to follow. Some, school psychs probably was not in the schools and they're getting back. So everybody's rust looks different, right? And just understanding like this is why spaces like this is important is because sometimes when we are experiencing something, we feel like we're the only ones feeling it, right? But this is just validating to hear like we're all going through it, even if it looks different. But just like you said, Dominique, is to really take our weekends, right? And even our
Mhm.
evenings seriously, because
Yes.
sometimes people go from work and then go back to work at
Yeah.
home, right? And so I love this. I'm loving these responses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's even so much more important for us, I feel like, being so young and like us starting our career, because that's the quickest way to burn out. You
Yeah.
like you come in thinking you can do everything, solve every problem, wanting to get involved in so many different things, and then you're like, wow, I'm tired and
Right.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Yes.
So
You
true.
actually said something before we get into our third question. Sorry, T. I'm
Oh, you're
skipping
good.
around.
This
But
is good.
when you mentioned, that burnout, right? Especially being early career school sites, right? If you guys are okay with mentioning like where you are in the field, like how many years, so people can kind of know like the ranges here, right? You guys can start whoever wants to, just to share that before I get into my question. Oh,
Okay.
Dominique, go ahead.
So I literally just graduated from my program in FIU. Shout out to FIU. Um, just got my license. I'm in Texas right now, so I got my license to. Don't know if I can say this. Practice school, the field of school psychology in Texas, but yeah. So it's literally my first year. I've been doing this for a month now.
Congrats.
I signed up on my first report all by myself, no supervisor, a couple weeks ago. So that was crazy.
Yay!
That feels
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
And me, I am in my fourth year. It's really like year 3.5 because I took a semester off, but somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I don't know how to explain it. So I graduated last year, but I was in school for internship, went to the private setting for postdoc. Now I guess this is like officially my first year as a contract psych eval only, right? School psychologist here in Texas. But I say that because when you're early in your career, right, we know like we have a passion for this field and we want to save everybody. That's something I would say like I really like I want to save all these kids that come in, it's about the children. But when those things happen, burnout, we start to do more than what we need
Mhm.
to do, right? And so that's where the burnout comes out so quickly because we're not sustaining, right, our mental health, our just the self-care, right, practices to be able to show up every day. Because if we're not mentally right, like not
Mhm.
tired, not sleeping, how can we be effective for our children, right?
Yep.
So that's just
Mhm.
something I wanted to kind of hone in on that because as early career psychs, like we graduate like I'm superwoman now. Like I don't care what happened
I'm
last
credentialed.
year, right? I'm credentialed. I
I'm
can sign
official
off my
now.
own thing.
Mhm.
Listen, I studied, people ain't gotta tell me you gotta do this and that. Like I'm gonna save everybody in the school. Whoever was here last year didn't know what they was doing. We gonna be saving the world, right? But
You know
it's
my life.
but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, man,
Mhm.
I got all these avowals and I got to keep this momentum. Can we really be
Yeah.
realistic, right? So I just wanted to kind of tie that in there. So, all right, y'all ready for this next question? All right.
So,
All right. So this question is how do we professionally, right, tell school personnel about boundaries when it comes to boundaries about our duties, right? Or just like kick rocks, right? But more so how to really set those boundaries and let them know, like, this is my role. Thank you for, partaking in it, but here's my duties. Like, how do you professionally say that?
so I think I've been pretty lucky with my admin so far. I think that my district does a pretty good job of outlining what our roles and responsibilities are. I haven't yet been asked to help with dismissal or arrivals or lunch duty, nothing extra that is not within my job responsibilities. But I think also I do have a pretty good rapport with my admin team because I was at the school last year, so they know me. I think we're comfortable with each other. And when I'm like, no, they know that I mean no. Like it's
I know that's right.
yeah.
So the districts that I have been in, school psychologists have been district hires and not like school specific hires, which in some districts it is that you get hired like to a specific school and interview with the principals and stuff. So I've been blessed that when the conversations come up, I can just say, hey, like, let me reach out to my supervisor at central office and like check in with them about this. Or, like just explaining to them like the time commitment of being a school psychologist. So I'm in meetings 8 a.m. to 3:30 Wednesday, Thursday. I don't think I can do morning and bus duty. Like, just I think explaining to them what it is that we do, because a lot of times they don't really know.
Right.
Especially I think at my school where like a lot of the admin is coming in new. So they're like, oh, you're just an extra body. Like, let's get in lunch duty. And it's like, actually, I got all these kids that I need to service. So I think just one, explaining to them what it is that you do. And then if that doesn't work, because sometimes it doesn't, like, again, just letting them know that something like that at this moment is outside of your scope of practice and that crises come up and different things like that. But I think letting it be a conversation on the front end about your boundaries. So I let everyone know, like, this is my job. This is what I'm here to do. We can have a conversation about other things. But again, I'm a district hire, and anything that's coming in about what it is that I'm finna be doing is coming from my supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's true.
Yeah, and that's good that you guys are doing this now as when you're in your early career. You guys have literally just touched on some of the tips that I actually gave last week in our first BSPN webinar about like boundaries, like saying no, not having to explain yourself, but also just like you guys are saying, like being able to define your role. Being a school site looks different across districts, it looks across the state, even out of state. Even here in California where I'm now, I'm like, oh, y'all do little things a little bit differently out here in Cali. But it's one of those things where you have to know your role and being able to communicate that to other people because they're not going to understand what our role is. And one suggestion, if there are early career school psychologists that are tuning in, it is still the beginning of the school year. So if you haven't already done so, I highly encourage you all to maybe set up a one-on-one meeting with your administrators just to simply say, I'm the school psychologist. This is my schedule. This is my roles and responsibility. This is how I'm going to be servicing students at your schools. This is the best way to contact me. I'm looking forward to collaborating and kind of setting that tone for the school year because there will be bumps throughout the school year. Like it's not going to be perfect. But by setting that standard, the administrators are like, oh, okay, they know what they're here for. And having that open communication with the administrator, I think made a big difference my 4th and 5th year as opposed to first year where I was just like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. But it's like, no. Like, that's not my role. Like we should not be chasing kids down the hallway, lunch duty, whatever duty there is in the school, but really sticking to what it is that our role is, because if not, people will take advantage of us as school psychs, especially early career students, not early career students, grad students. I'm talking about my students yesterday, but with early career school psychologists. So yeah.
No, I love this. I'm loving these responses. I'm actually learning myself as well, because understanding that every school has their own culture, right?
Yep.
And I've had to learn that not everybody knows what a school psychologist does, right? They're like, okay, what do you do? Like, we have these fancy credentials and stuff, but they're looking at us like, what do you really do? If they don't know, they're going to give us something to do, right?
Yep.
So like you all have said, is setting that expectation of like, these are my roles, or no, right? Like if you have that relationship, right, with them as well. So awesome. I love this.
Yeah. And before I get into our next question, like I know we can't see the chat on this screen, but our chat is really live, y'all, on YouTube.
Oh, it's booming?
Yeah. So yeah, people are saying like congrats, good advice.
Aww.
Like they're really hyping us up, y'all. So I wish we could see it on our screen as well.
Yeah, I did want to say that I think I struggle more with boundary setting when it comes to teachers and not admin so much. I don't know what it is, but I almost kind of feel like some teachers don't, they see me as a student. I get it all the time. Like, do you go here? No, I work here. Last year I got it a lot. I'd be on my phone. They'd be like, put your phone away. I'm like, I'm texting my supervisor. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this right now. So yeah, I struggle with that. I don't know. You guys have advice for like teachers specifically, or your thoughts about that?
So I will validate that. I get that a lot. I know even going into middle and high schoolers, I was actually telling the team this the other day is that I'm constantly getting stopped or saying like, why are you not in class and everything, especially if you're waiting for a batch, right? Or if you don't have your identification on yourself. So I know for like middle and high schools, I tend to try to dress more professional if it's not jeans or stuff, but also if it's
Mhm.
the first time, it's my first time being there, I make it my duty to try to go from the secretary in the front to receptionist or whatever the case may be, school administration, like, hey, I'm Dr. Aline Milfort, this is my role. And a lot of times teachers are going to just see you in the hallways and they're going to say it, right? And you may tell them like, no, I'm the school psychologist, and they'll do it again, right?
Oh,
Not
you look
taking
so young.
right. Yes, you will get that sometimes. Even with just like those who have been in the field, like teachers or whatever the case may be, for a very long time. One thing I like to do, especially because we are in a field for, we may be experts in our field, but they're experts in something else, especially with parents. I always say, you're an expert to your child. I may be an expert in this and still growing, but we're experts together, and the end goal is the child, right? And just the same with teachers, if they make that remark like, oh, you're very young, right? Like, or what do you know, right? Like, I've been doing this amount of years. And always start with the positive, right? Their strength, right? Dr. Byron McClure, Dr. Kelsey Reed's always talking about that strength base, right? It applies to them as well, because it kind of breaks the ice a little bit. I know it's like there's some you may not be able to break, but it's attempting to, and just understanding like it can't be a compliment because you're gonna be young forever, right? But just understanding that you're gonna get that, and you may have to kind of remind him a lot of times, but trying to find a segue to work together with them if they make something that may not come out very clearly. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just make
So I actually have an example because it just recently happened. A teacher had texted me on a Sunday at like 10:30, and I was like, no, ma'am.
Amen.
Sunday, do that. And so I thought I got the message across. Like I said, no, set the boundary. We can talk when it's like Monday through Friday during work hours. And then she calls me at like 7:30 the other night, and I just didn't answer. But I'm like, what part of during school hours did you not
Well, a lot of
understand?
that is that people don't have personal boundaries for themselves, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
allow work to be their entire lives. So
Mhm.
a lot of it is one, not taking it personally on your own behalf and remembering that a boundary is for you and a rule is for other people. So if you set that boundary and you say, after I leave that building at 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever time it is, I'm not answering your text, I'm not answering your call, and you let them know that, if they decide that they don't want to listen, that's their
Yeah.
business. You
Yeah.
can talk to them
Mhm.
at 30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just how life goes, right? And it's hard, but you continue to build the muscle because again, you don't.
Mhm.
And coming from somebody who has been burnt out and is trying this again, right? These are the things that take time, but in the end are definitely necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely building my muscles over here.
Yeah, and I would say also with being early career, right? It's like again going back to we want to please or just try to do everything, right? Like in the chat, someone says sometimes school personnel will try to make everything on their to-do list a priority for us, right? But staying true to you, so that's great. Because like Jenadra said, is that they will test your boundaries if they don't have boundaries themselves. But it's understanding like okay, they may try a couple times, but be like oh, Miss Walker ain't gonna answer her phone call. Let me meet her when she said. They'll remember,
Yeah.
right? But they will try to test those roles and everything. And so yeah, so again, and also consulting, right? We may not know all the answers all the time. Ask your supervisor, ask your colleagues. Like, this field is not an island. We are in this together. We're not going to know everything every time just because we graduated and met the credentials. We're not going to know every question that a teacher may ask. And sometimes that make us feel like personal insecurity. Like, what did I learn in grad school? What did I get all those hours for? But it's like, okay, I don't know that answer right now, but I'll get back to you. Right. And that's okay.
Yeah. And Dominique, I actually want to go back to a little bit to the questions that you were asking. So you were saying how to set boundaries with teachers or like the rapport building with teachers?
Well, it was more like I set a boundary and then she crossed it. But then I think, it was answered because it's just like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm setting the boundaries and she's just testing it. So I'm going to keep the boundaries here.
Yep.
I'm not moving it.
And that's one of the things too, like just sticking to it and also understanding like the culture and climate of your schools. Cause like you'll see where some teachers and staff, like they'll hang out outside of, on the weekends. And I'm like, nope, not me. I'll see y'all on Monday. And also with the building rapport with teachers, again, like at the beginning of the school year, we're kind of like, this is pre-COVID, y'all, when I was printing out papers, but I was printing out little welcome letters of introducing myself, just to put a little chocolate and lollipops in there to get them a little bit, not really excited, but I don't want to say, I can't think of the word I'm trying to get to, but pretty much when I need rating scales, they'll know who I am. Oh, bribe. That's what I was trying to say. Bribe them with here, but no.
Incentivize.
Right. There we go. Good word. And just going around to classrooms, just introducing ourselves, because a lot of times school psychs are split between multiple schools and they may not know who we are if they see us in the hallway. So they're like, who is this person? So you may have to remind them, oh, I'm the school psychologist. I'm here on these days. I had to do that a lot, especially being at a middle and high school where I blended in often with the kids. And even as a professor now, they're like, you're a professor? I'm like, there's no age of being a school psych or being a professor. So I don't know where we got that, where it's like, oh, you're too young to be a school psych, or you're too young to be a professor. So just keep showing up as yourself and sticking to your boundaries and they'll get it at some point.
Yes. I love this. I love how this conversation is, going its routes. There is a question I have for you, Jenadra. We're going to ask at the end. We're going to get these questions out and then we will segue back a little bit. All right. So next question is, how do you not lose your cool after getting a referral from a teacher on the first week?
Where is the data? Where is the data? We see it happen time and time again, but it's just like you have not collected enough data to support that there is a disability at this time. Like, let's give it some time.
I need to write that down.
Like, you do not know that baby's name. You don't know their favorite color. You don't know nothing about them. But now, like, let's give it some time and then we can have the conversation. I think it's always like my first, like, again, it's the, what is it? Like everywhere you go, when you look at like school site gear, it's like our tag is like, where is the data? It's because it's real. I would say along with that, making sure that we're having conversations with our SPED chair and our SPED team so that we're all playing the same game, because I see a lot where it's like, I can say, where's the data? And then somebody else on the team is like, yeah, like, let's take the referral. And it's like, let's have a conversation, make sure we're all singing the same song, and then bring me my data. And then we can talk about it.
Yeah. I think naturally I am a pretty calm, cool, collected person. But I think you want to stay calm anyway, just because if the teacher is like bringing this, like it's a problem we got to evaluate first week, they need to also calm down. So just remaining calm so that they can kind of, okay, maybe I should calm down too. And I lost my train of thought. 1 second. Also, I think the teachers want to be validated. So it's like, okay, like I see that, there are some concerns. Let's talk about things that you've done. Have you tried this? Okay, well, let's try that and then come back to it. So yeah, I think we need more time. you're getting to know the student and the student is also getting to know you. So let's build rapport here with your student, and then we can revisit at another time. It's,
Yep.
No, I love that. And also, if it becomes a campus thing, right? Like if it's constantly like the whole campus just sending referrals, then there may be some, many like educational sessions, if you want to call it, about like when do you get to this process, right? Because people don't have to understand that special education is not a placement just to put kids because they're acting out in your class, right? It's not just like a babysitting place, right? So it's just understanding like you need data to understand like compared to this child's peers, are these behaviors like, is it an educational need? Is it impacting their education or other students learning? But we have to have, like you said, the data for that, because yeah, we get that a lot. And I will say, with teachers observing classrooms, teachers got to do a lot.
They do.
Yes.
And when they're balancing a whole bunch of kids in a class, you'll be able to see like those classes where the teachers have like very structured and inviting. You can kind of see the differences in children's behaviors versus those who may need some areas of improvement in classroom management or just like how everything's structured. But just all of the things, the guidelines they have to follow, and then we have teacher shortages. We have shortages all around across the board in education, but it's just understanding like, man, this teacher is just probably at their wits end and just frustrated and just want to be like, here, you're somebody else's problem at the moment, right? So no, this is good. This is good. Y'all, the chat is live right now.
Really? Let's see. Let me try to look
I hate that I gotta look at my phone a little bit and just, act like I'm paying attention to the camera, but
it's a lot of comments in here.
Yes, it's the community. I love it.
A lot of people are saying, yeah, where's the data? Let's see. There's some other stuff going. I don't even know what they're talking about, but yes, pretty much we have to be making database decisions in our in our schools. And Aline, as you were talking too, you made me think about one time when I was practicing where I'm like, the whole school can't have an IEP, y'all. Like we need to be looking at some tier 1 interventions, because this is no longer a tier 2, tier 3 problem. Okay. We need to be looking at some other things to support students, because this is beyond my pay scale at this point, where we need to be looking at some more systems level change, whether that's academics or behaviors that are occurring at the school. So yeah. Or if that same teacher is also referring the majority of her class or his class or their class, that's also something that needs to be looked into as well, because there's clearly not a student problem, maybe a teacher problem. So I'm gonna leave that right there.
Right.
Or when they're just trying to shop for a disability. Like they're like, I know there's something going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So then we have, I love this one for back to school. Best ways to create a productive workspace with your coworkers, or if you have a individual office, which is a bonus if you have that. So whoever wants to go first.
Okay. So I actually do have my own office. I have 2 offices actually. I thought 2 would be fun, but it is actually kind of overwhelming. Like I have 2 spaces to organize, but shout out to, hopefully she's here, I don't know, my internship supervisor, Janine Johnson. I inherited a lot of her stuff, so as well as her office, and she has her lamp. And like her report writing thing was like she'd have the light off in the room, but the lamp on. And so that's kind of like quiet, cool time to just like paperwork, report writing, things I need to do. I also have one of those like diffusers, get the room smelling a little bit good. And I also, as of recent, have put myself on restriction with Instagram. So I can only be on Instagram for an hour a day. And so that kind of prevents me from like trying to, work avoidance, getting on Instagram, not doing my work, just avoiding stuff. So that definitely does help me just limit distractions in my office as well.
Nice.
I did all the same things that you did. I literally was just like, Instagram is taking over my life. Like, let's I would say I always prioritize myself first. So to your point of like creating an office space. Everyone thinks it's for the kids, like when I create my office the way that I do, but it's definitely for me. So like I have LED lights, so I have my lights off, like my diffuser, like it smells good in there so that I can keep myself calm, so that when the chaos comes, I can, counteract that with the peace that I have in my own personal environment. Um, I think productivity for myself looks like being organized. So everything is a spreadsheet, everything is printed out and where it needs to be. And like, even we're in week 2 and I'm still doing a lot of that stuff. So thinking to like summer rust, like I'm still, trying to brush my like it takes a little bit of time. But definitely trying to just make sure that like I get myself together. And then when I think about adding like my coworkers to the mix, one, I already talked about like having those important conversations on the front end so that they all know how I work, I know how they work. Like when it comes to planning meetings, my sped chair has like the IEP calendar from September to May. I love it.
Nice.
Right? So I can already put the days that I'm out, so like we're communicating, and I think that helps me a lot. And then I say also, I'm kind of just a sit back and watch kind of girl. So like before I start trying to make friends, or before I start, like trying to get a feel for the different people, like I kind of just sit back, see what everybody else has going on. And then I'm like, okay, so this is where I fit in as a school psychologist, or these are the people that I need to be talking to about this, just so that, again, I can make sure I put myself first, and then we can be in community.
Nice. Aline, you want to share how you've been recently creating your new workspace?
Yes, y'all. I have a nice little cubicle. It's kind of big, I'm,
That's a big cubicle, y'all.
I like
Big.
it. I was like, wow, but yeah. So I have numerous schools, right, that I go to. But one thing that, at my main space, I should say, being organized, like everyone has said, the spreadsheets, printing out like dates, I put it like where I can see it. I get easily distracted, so I try not to be on social media either. But I like to make sure, like, okay, I'm going to work for this amount of time, get up, walk around a little bit. I have pictures because since I am in Texas and my family is mainly in Florida, I have a lot of pictures of my family, just remembering my why of how I got here, just pictures of like everyone. BSPN team, I told Tiara, I was like, they gonna be on my desk too, y'all. But just having that, but more so, I keep my evals from the schools. They send me like what needs to be done, because I don't do the process of having to do everything. I just get the request. We do that. So I get my vows. I put them by months that needs to be done. Call parents. I get all my protocols together in the folder. So when it's time, I just hit it and go to the schools and do what I have to do. But yeah, that's how I create productivity for myself, but with coworkers. Like what was previously mentioned, is just making sure, like, who do you speak to for this, right?
Yeah.
And I ask a lot of questions, because especially if I'm new, I'm not afraid of asking questions. But I do tell them, like, hey, if you feel like I'm asking you too much questions, give me a limit. And I'll just go to my supervisor. But I'm like, I rather make sure I ask the questions than get it wrong.
Yep.
So I ask questions. But where I'm at now, everybody's very welcoming. And just, yeah, it's just, as long as you're kind, there's going to be people like, oh, you're too much for me, or whatever the case may be. It's okay. You're just there to be professional and do what you have to do. But eventually you'll find your rhythm.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess like with the whole like productive workspace, like making it how you want it to be. I feel like with social media, especially the past 3 weeks, I've seen a lot of people showing off their office. And I'm like, wow, some people have some really nice office space. And I know that is not the case in some districts. Your closet, I mean, see, I already said it. Your office may be a closet,
Yeah.
or you may be in the dungeon. I was in like a storage closet, gym storage closet one year. Crazy. But I know, right? Just making the best of it. And if your office space is not what is required in your contract of what it needs to be, definitely advocate for yourself. I've had to do that numerous times where in my contract, it says I need to be in an actual office, not a cubicle, not a fishbowl. Or I needed a file cabinet, or I needed a telephone. I needed certain things that I needed to do my job. So making sure that you know what supplies that is required of you to do your job in your district, because that is very important. I really wasn't that creative with my office. It was very bland. I tried to add pictures, try to get cute, but it just didn't really work out for me. So make it, as Julia said, make it your own workspace. And then Aline, as you were talking about, like knowing key people in the building, be best friends with your custodian and the cafeteria people. Those are two people that will look out for you. It's so funny, y'all. My old custodian, one of my old, I'm not even there no more, just text me today to say how you doing in Spanish. So I was like, oh my God. So you just never know, the relationships will continue on even after you go. So those are definitely people to connect with, because you can get school supplies, Lysol wipes. I mean, anything you can think, food in the cafeteria, forget your lunch one day. Those people will really look out for you when you build that rapport with them. So
in my old district, I got a couch from my office.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know that's right.
Couch.
Yeah, girl, we was having fun.
It was a whole psychologist in there, okay?
I also forgot to mention I'm a huge sticky note girly. So I have like my to-do list on a sticky note. But I've recently been trying to be more mindful of making a to-do list that is obtainable and reasonable. Depending on like the intensity of whatever the task is, or like not putting too many things on there to do, so that I don't leave work feeling like I didn't accomplish anything. So that's kind of what helps me.
No,
And keep work at work.
Yes, keep work at work. Keep work at work. I have a to-done list.
Me too.
Because even if it's one thing I check off that day, I'm be proud, because we have so much stuff we have to do, right? And it piles up very quickly. So just to put, I survived the day. We survived, right? And just, I have a big calendar on my desk too. I know technology, I'm a millennial, but technology and me, we don't get hand in hand all the time. So I like physical things. So having a huge calendar on my desk, like, Aline, you got this to do this week, that keeps me on my toes and everything if I have to, especially with deadlines, right? We got to remain in compliance and everything. And I don't want to be the, school psychologist be the one like, oh, she always out of compliance because she be forgetting, right? So.
All right, let's see. And I just realized that when I was looking at the chat, y'all, we forgot one person. The secretary is another key player to be besties with. So
Yes. I did have a question. I know we are going to get into the chat. That said, I was going to segue back.
Okay.
Jenadra, you mentioned earlier how, through burnout, you left and came back. So what made you want to come back into the field? If you're okay with sharing that, real back in.
So I stopped working as a school psychologist June of 2022. And for those of you who don't know, I adjuncted, I think that's the way that you say that word, fall of 2022. And I wasn't making no money. So I had to make some money. If we're being really honest, I had to go back for the money, but I really did miss the kids. So I was at a high school before I left the field. And then I went to community college where I was teaching. They were like first years. And I think it made me realize like the population of student that I really wanted to work with. Like, yes, first years, they're still like young, but they're not like high school, like really in the mix of like learning life young. So I really missed like that direct service with kids and being able to impact them, even if it's just one student, right? Just miss having those connections and those conversations. So that is really why I ended up going back. Because I was a little bit broke, y'all. That's the real tea.
Listen,
Real tea,
school
listen.
sites get paid. So, I guess regionally, but the districts I was in and regionally, they get paid. So, yeah.
That's good to hear, because I've been broke for quite some time and I'm coming out on the other end of things. I'm waiting for my paycheck.
I'm going to testify with that. Listen, what?
I might cry.
Y'all, I feel you. Like,
Yeah.
compared to internship, postdoc,
Yeah.
like postdoc training, like I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
this is what it's like, you know,
Yeah.
man. So I
I
feel
can't
you.
wait.
I feel you.
When y'all see me pop out with the Chanel purse, just
Listen,
know I made it.
mind your business, right? Just mind your business. Just
Right,
keep
mind
rolling.
As you
That is
should.
hilarious.
You
All
earned
right, I'm
it.
gonna hop over and see if there's any questions in the chat. And Aline, if you see anything as well, let me see. I'm just laughing at these comments. Someone say,
Yes,
"Yeah, we
I
ain't
just.
broke no more."
It's so good to hear because I'm like, I've been in this broke mindset for so long. I'm like ready
Yeah.
to be out. I'm ready to break the shackles, be set
Right.
free.
Breaking generational curses, right? Like,
Amen.
listen.
Yes. Aileen, did you see any? I didn't see any questions. Y'all have any questions?
Well, we talked about productivity, like, I guess more so like in the school. So what about like working from home? Because this is the first year I'm going to be working from home.
Oh,
So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. I don't know if any of you guys work from home.
so this is, I feel like, the new luxury for some school
Mhm.
districts. I've never worked from home as a school psychologist, but I do work from home some days as a professor, and it is a lot of discipline and self-control. I know people that like love working from home, but me, I'm a social person. I thrive being around others. So not having anyone to talk to, I'm like, okay, I guess I got to sit here and do my work. But I try to keep the same routine. So even if I'm working from home, I try to wake up the same time every day as if I was going on campus to teach. I also kind of create a schedule for myself. So it's like, okay, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, from this hour to this hour, I'm going to be doing research, manuscript writing. Then I'm gonna take my lunch break at this time, and then afternoon I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. So I try to keep a much of a structure and schedule for me. Because last year it was a struggle. I was like, oh my God, how do I work from home? Like, how do I keep my routine and still feel productive just in a different environment? And even sometimes I may switch it up if I'm working from home, where I may go sit on my balcony, get some fresh air, sit at the park, go to a coffee shop. So sometimes the setting I have to change, but all that to say, I have to keep keep a routine every single week. If not, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, my first year practicing was virtual. So 2020, right in the heat of COVID. And a lot of how I stayed productive was kind of just to Tiara's point, like getting up and acting like you were actually going into
Yep.
a building.
Mhm.
So that meant like getting up, getting dressed, even on some days where I didn't have meetings, but I still had work to do so that you get into the mindset of like, this is actually work. Um, what else did I do? It feels like it was so long ago and it like um I guess it's a lot about the boundaries, right? So Tiara hit on like all of those productivity things, but I think in that is also the boundaries of like making sure that you're shutting your laptop because even though you are at home, like in this work, like you got to make sure that you find ways to divide the two. And I think to your point earlier, that could be why it's so easy for people to break the boundary of like, I'm gonna text you whenever, but definitely like setting those boundaries and setting hard and fast to them, especially being at home. So close that laptop and be done with it, girl.
I'm gonna slam it. Literally.
And Dominique, you made a good point earlier. You even have for like social media where you have a limit. I would say definitely encouraging that. And I'm big on do not disturb during work hours because if not, I'll be texting or looking at social media, random TikTok videos. So that helps also to eliminate distractions and stuff as well, working from home.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to staying in my PJs though.
I mean, you still can.
You do it half and half. Like,
No, but I know myself. Like I should also act as if I'm going to work.
yeah.
I did that this week, and it actually boosted my mood for sure. Getting dressed,
Yeah.
even though I was home.
Then I was gonna say having somewhere in your house that's like solely dedicated to work. So like I'm in my like office right now. And when I close this door right here, that one right there, it's over. Like this room does not exist. It's not my house anymore. Okay. So definitely like setting that boundary for your mind so that you know when you're done with work, you're done with work.
Yep. That's a good point too. That's a good point.
Yeah. I will say, I had the option of working from home during postdoc. I will say with discipline, I honestly prefer going in because really struggle a lot with separated because I'm at my house. It was so hard for me. So I like actually getting up, getting dressed, driving, and going. I
Mhm.
know circumstances can happen where we have to remain disciplined, but like that was a huge struggle for me. So just knowing yourself, knowing can you really help, really do work from home,
Right.
right? If you can't, would you take a position where you work from home every day? So
I'm gonna try my best.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked from home before, but not as a school psych. So I'm gonna try my best and let you guys know. We'll see.
You
We'll
got
see. And
this.
got this.
my work from home days is Monday too.
Oh,
So
okay.
Dang.
perfect day to work from home.
Listen, just do the half and half. You good. You still in your PJs, but you got on a cute little top. That's it.
Right, right. We do have a question in the chat from Dr. Payne. It says, as a professor of school psych grad students, what do the early career psychologists have as the best piece of advice? That's a great, great question.
Mm.
Advice for grad students.
Right, right. Can we maybe clarify?
Oh, can the question be
Yeah.
clarified, please?
Well, if that's it, like, what advice do we have for grad students? I think my biggest piece of advice has always been to take your practicum experiences very seriously.
Mhm.
Because I know, like, we talk about internship and it's like the internship
Right.
interviews and like that's the part that everyone like hypes up. But when it comes to practicum and those first experiences of getting in and like talking to students and seeing what your supervisors are doing, like, take that all in, because a lot of who I have become as a school psychologist is because of those beginning things that I were beginning, like tips and tricks that I've been able to develop on over time. Um, yeah, because I got stories from practicum that like I was writing down, like, okay, this is how we solved this, like this is how we did
Yep.
that. The student said this, my supervisor said we needed to do that. And even now, 4 years in, I keep the same journal that I had from practicum and I like go back and I'm like, okay,
Nice.
like, so yeah, take it all very seriously. But I would say like those moments when you do have FaceTime, definitely prioritize those moments.
Yes, that's good.
Trying to think of
So
anything.
when you asked, or when the question was asked, the first thing that popped into my head was, "Are you sure?" But I think that that is probably stemming from like a little bit of my own like imposter syndrome. So just to like talk about imposter syndrome, just knowing that you are trained, you are prepared, you
Yep.
got this, and you're always going to be learning.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah.
You're never. My one of my supervisors last year said that the first like 3 to 5 years are the hardest. So just give yourself grace. You're
Yeah.
prepared. You're gonna learn. You got it.
Yes. And I would say to add to that is being okay with constructive feedback. I know that sometimes it's hard to hear when we're doing our, feedback on counseling sessions or report writing. Like as a graduate student or even as an early career, we do not know it all. And so being able to be okay with getting feedback from your field work or your internship supervisor or even your supervisor or mentor your first few years. But it's only the feedback is to help you grow, to help
Right.
you to be a better school psychologist. So not taking it personal, and just getting the feedback and then making those changes so that way you're continuously learning. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. I was going to echo what Dominique said when she talked about imposter syndrome, because even as early career, right,
Yep.
imposter syndrome will creep in, but it's a lie,
Yep.
Mhm.
right? And knowing that you belong in the room, and just because another school psychologist does something this way, but it's not being done by you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just understanding like we're always growing, we're always learning. We won't know everything,
Yep.
right? And also get in the habit of communicating with your cohort or other individuals, because you're going to be need that in those social skills, right, when you are in the field.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And it looks like we have another good question um, in the chat from Timothy, where it's how has this industry, so being a school psych, added value in your personal life? Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay.
Wow,
This
that's a
Got real
good
deep,
question.
That's
right?
good. Okay. Okay, Timothy. It's a good question.
I always say that school psychology changed my life. And not even like being a school psychologist, but just learning
Mhm.
about the field and like learning about children and being able to apply all of that to my own life. Like when I was in ABA, learning about extinction bursts and going through an issue with my father at home where like he was going through an extinction burst and I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Like mind blown. So yeah, I feel like in all of the things that I learned in grad school, I was able to apply to my life. I talked about it, I think in my bio, I put that like being from Connecticut informed like me becoming a school psychologist. And a lot of that was just about like being from an inner city, going to public, private, and charter school throughout my whole life and like seeing those differences, but not understanding what was happening. And then becoming a school psychologist, being in schools, right, like that, and seeing like, wow, this is actually your life. Um, so I have a bunch of moments like that. I was actually gonna start like a series on Instagram about like my life through the lens of school psychology. So I think that was
Right.
God just like telling me to
That's your
Mhm.
do
confirmation.
that. So you know, okay.
100%.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy. I'm gonna stop there. I could go on all night. But yeah, school psych has definitely changed my personal life like tenfold.
Same. I would say that I wasn't very aware or even really knew what mental health was, other than like, if you struggled with a problem that, you were crazy,
Mhm.
So I'm more mindful, more self aware. And these were all things that I learned in grad school. I didn't start going to therapy myself until I was in grad school. And I had to get into therapy because I overworked myself to make ends meet while going to grad school. But it was just all like a process of me learning about my own mental health, what works for me, learning how to be more self aware, just overall, just being a better person. But
Yeah,
that's all because of school psychology and just how I learned about mental health.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll say, Aileen, you want to go or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll add. So this is a great question because so I like to always talk about how um, life always takes us into our purpose, right? And I really feel like this was like a full circle for me because coming from a immigrant family, families from Haiti, right? And so the person that raised me didn't know how to read and write, and so I saw a lot of the struggles that they went through, especially when they would pick me up from school and people would laugh at them because at the time, I always like to share the story because it just shows like I like to tell people like if I can come to the table, they're coming with me now, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Good.
And so they would make fun of her because at one time, for example, she went in the wrong bathroom because that's before they had like the symbols. It was more the words.
Mhm.
And I remember she told me at the time, she said, I didn't have the opportunity to go to school, but now you do. So she planted that seed. And so like now when I'm working with families, it's kind of in a way where I remember like they were in that shoe or I was in that shoe or she was in that shoe. And so it brings value because it's like every time I leave work, I feel like I've done purpose, right? I have feel like I'm fulfilling something. Um, I have a joy to go to work because I know like this is my passion because it's more personal. It's a drive because I
Yeah.
know that her, sacrifices was not in vain. So
Yes.
Amen.
That's good. That's good. And then I guess I'll share too, since everybody else shared.
right, we getting all personal. This
um,
is getting deep.
I know, I'm like, dang, I was not prepared for this. And I guess for me, one thing that school psych has changed my life is becoming more self-aware, but also being able to communicate how I'm feeling. And I had this reflection a few years ago where it's like, how am I teaching elementary, middle, and high school students how to regulate their emotions and behaviors if I don't and communicate to adults and their families if I'm struggling with that as myself. So it's like, I can't be telling these students, oh, I statements or giving them coping strategies. And it's like, that's almost felt like a hypocrite almost to say, I don't even. So I was just like, woo, let me step back. So it was a lot of self-reflection and growth and healing for myself, where it was like, okay, I can learn the same strategies for my own personal life. So school psych has definitely impacted my life probably more than I thought it has. And again, I love being a practicing school. So I miss being in the schools just a little bit. I got to get back at some point, but I like being a professor too, y'all. So, so yeah. So it's been over an hour now.
Yeah.
We like to keep these to an hour, right? Like we could go on and on, right?
Right. Because we won't get kicked off like IG. Like,
Right. We won't get kicked off no more. So I don't know if there were any other. I don't think I saw any more questions in the chat. So like I said, all worked out. Aileen, you want to wrap it up, and then I'll go over just some quick BSPN announcements.
Yes. So again, we want to thank our guests. Y'all are amazing. We want to say thank you for first saying yes to this live, and just thank you for the work that you're putting in. You guys are amazing. We're happy to have you in the field, right? Shout out to y'all, Maryland and Texas in the house. We got Callie over here with Dr. Bland. So, for our guests, how can they follow you if they have follow-up questions for you? How can they stay in touch with you? Anyone can go first.
You got it.
Okay. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. I am the not so typical _school psych. I follow back. And here on YouTube, the Ginger Spice Show. I'm trying to get back, y'all. So get my subscribers up so that I have some, incentives and some reasons to come back. But definitely always looking forward to connecting, slide in my DM. I do write back. Just your friendly neighborhood school psychologist.
Okay.
Love it.
And then I just also wanted to say, thank you guys for the invite. I feel very blessed and, happy to be here. I don't typically give out, social media, but my Instagram, I will do my best to follow back. If it says school psych, I will likely follow you back. But my Instagram is Dom the Mad School Psychologist.
Okay.
I got it. The idea was from Mariah the Scientist. So shout out to her.
Nice. I actually saw her this summer. She was really good. But unrelated. So as we close out, thank you all for tuning into our first YouTube Live, which was really, really fun. Just to go over some quick BSPN announcements. Hopefully you are subscribed to our website. Also following us on all social media at the Black SPS. And the huge announcement that was released a few weeks ago about the Black School Site Summit. Woo! I'm super excited. If you were not at the inaugural in April, you must. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Find a way to be in Atlanta, April 25th to the 26th. Same city, bigger location. We're going to be at the Atlanta Convention Center, which I'm super excited about. And if you're already subscribed and follow us, you know that a call for breakout sessions and poster sessions went out today. So we would love to have you present at the summit in 2024, and feel free to reach out to us if you have questions. So I think that's all the announcements. I think, right, Aileen?
That's all the
I already put my time request in.
Oh, I know.
So they better not play. But I put it in.
They can say no.
Yes,
I'm letting you know I'm going.
Put your leave request in now.
Right. Put it in now.
Yes. So, all right. Well, this was great. Everyone have a fun, safe weekend, and stay tuned for our next YouTube Live in October. So,
thank y'all.
Bye.
Bye.